And one has to ask oneself, what is the purpose of the crown? What is the purpose of the monarchy?
Fact or fiction, most of us are happy just watching the life stories of the royal family unfold. But how accurate is this small-screen historical drama? Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 5 facts the Crown got right.
Your uncle has let us all down. He put love before family.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at some of the larger-than-life events and moments from this Netflix series that, believe it or not, actually happened. Although the show has been criticized for embellishing and sensationalizing for entertainment's sake, the following facts are genuine.
That's exactly what the king said.
Number 5. Queen Elizabeth served in the Royal Army. In her pre-majesty days, Queen Elizabeth did in fact serve her country during World War II. As briefly mentioned in the second episode, when Prince Phillip and Elizabeth are on tour in Kenya, she was a mechanic.
All you have to do is wait. It's all right, I was a mechanic during the war.
Not only was Elizabeth a proud member of the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service, but she was also the only female member of the royal family to have ever served in the armed forces. After the family refused to evacuate the princesses to Canada during the war, Elizabeth was finally allowed to join, after her 18th birthday, as an honorary second subaltern. She ended up training as a mechanic and driver. Number 4. Prince Philip was upset that Elizabeth would not take his name.
Yes, I am queen, but I am also a woman. And a wife.
The show's portrayal of Philip's frequent annoyance at being overshadowed and emasculated by his wife's growing royal stature may have been a tad overblown. For example, there is no evidence that he made a fuss over having to kneel before Elizabeth at her coronation. But there was real tension between the couple, particularly when it came to the legacy and prominence of their respective houses.
Mountbatten was the adoptive name your husband took when he became a British citizen.
It's therefore very true that the prince took a bit of a hit to the royal family jewels when he learned that his children would not be taking his family name of Mountbatten, but the Queen's family name Windsor instead.
The name has to be Windsor, for stability.
Number 3. How Elizabeth learned of the King's death.
The BBC offers profound sympathy to Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family.
What may have seemed like a bit of cinematic juxtaposition for dramatic effect represents the all-too-real and exact moment Elizabeth became a queen. While in Kenya with Prince Philip, poor Elizabeth did not immediately hear about the sad news of her father's passing. As the news quickly spreads, and her staff is rushing to let her know before she accidentally finds out, we see the princess writing a letter to her father, unaware of the fact that he is already passed. Apparently that kind of dramatic irony is not only found on screen, but in the history books too. Number 2. Bathtime Fun with Winston Churchill.
Is that the new girl?
Yes, sir.
Churchill's life is incredibly well documented, and his fascinating quirks and wit are known to many. John Lithgow's award-winning portrayal is similarly mesmerizing, so much so that some questioned whether creative license was taken in depicting the famed Prime Minister. In this exceptionally bizarre and funny scene, Churchill sits in a bathtub, while his secretary, just on the other side of the door, reads him the news.
Anything from the Foreign Office? About America or the Soviet Union?
No, sir.
It would seem that truth is stranger than fiction, however, and Churchill's legacy requires no embellishment. The writers behind the show claim to have found record of this odd habit in an old documentary. Number 1. A scandalous affair of royal proportions.
Official duty, Rhodesia.
With the man I love.
Secretly love.
The doomed relationship between Princess Margaret and Peter Townsend was one of the main storylines of the first season of The Crown. Not only was the affair rife with scandal in those days, but it was a sore spot for Elizabeth in her first years as queen, who was required to approve their marriage since Townsend was divorced.
Does your wife know?
Your ex-wife?
She does. We had a frank conversation. There is no animosity.
Torn between wanting to support her sister and having to protect the crown and her image, tough decisions had to be made to keep the lovebirds apart. Although in real life it was Margaret who publicly announced that they would not wed, the Shakespearean love story was otherwise rooted in fact.
Plane for Brussels leaves in just under 3 hours. There was some concern that that might not give you enough time, but I felt sure that as a military man, packing quickly and unsentimentally would come as second nature to you.
But that isn't what was agreed.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from MsMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.